Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of 8 Ounces of Inspiration. And today I have a very, very special guest, Farida. Farida is joining us from Troy, USA. She is a self learned professional and a baker. Her cakes are absolutely out of this world. She has traveled the world, moving countries with children, with family, adapting beautifully to different cultures from Japan to London, India, as well as now in USA, where she lives with her family, two boys and a girl, and her husband. And she has beautifully adapted her lifestyle as she went to different countries in the way that the kind of work that she took up to do to fit into the society as well as to adapt to what was readily available with her skill sets, as well as learning the languages of the country. And all of us know how difficult Japanese is to learn. And she stayed there, she learned the language, and it, while in our conversations previous to this recording, I just learned that one of her favorite places among all the countries that she's lived in is Japan. So we want to welcome Farida and we want to hear more from her about her journey and her switching from a career break to being a teacher to being a baker, all the different professions that she's worked with and enjoyed with and grown with. So, welcome, Farida. Thank you so much for taking out the time and being with us on this podcast to inspire others.
Thank you so much, Nidhi, for having me. It's lovely talking to you.
Yeah. So, Farida, it was just so interesting and so inspiring to read your bio about how you have moved so many countries and very different in nature, right? Because Japan, the culture, the language is very different from being in London, being in US, being in India. So my first question to you is starting with your journey, the last one. What got you into baking? I know you mentioned that you're not professionally qualified, you didn't go to a culinary school to learn baking, but your cakes are absolutely fantastic. I think they measure up to any master chef, cake.
I still have a long way to go. You're too kind.
They're absolutely wonderful. You are baking and you've monetized your profession. You get orders for it. You have your own brand now. And so I would like to understand from you first, what got you into baking? What helped you or what gave you the idea that I could make this into my profession, into my career right now and monetize it and do it, your passion into a profession? And was there a gap in the market that you saw? That, okay, I see that there are few bakers out there, no eggless bakery or whatever specialization that you do, that I could fit in here and I could create a niche for myself in the city that I live in. Over to you.
Okay. So, ever since I was a kid, like my mom used to bake birthday cakes at home. And they used to be very simple, just, a cake, but we loved it. And it wouldn't be like decorated and with themes and stuff the way the cakes are today, but just a simple cake, but with lots of mother's love. And we enjoyed those cakes. And then once I moved out of India, when I went to Japan, I was exposed to this, by that time, even in India, we used to get good cakes. But then when I moved to Japan, I saw a whole different level of the way the cakes were presented. I would see them in the stores and everywhere, and I tasted them. And the Japanese cakes are different from what we get here in America. And I learned a bit over there, the way they used to bake. I had a friend who was a very good baker there. And I could say she was one of the first ones who kind of showed me a few tips and tricks to make my cakes better. And that was the beginning. I started baking cake for my son's birthdays. And I did not like to have just a simple cake with some piping done. I would always have a theme party for him. I still remember when he turned 3, I made a dinosaur cake for him. I should have a picture somewhere in one of those memory cards. But what I did was I made a small volcano and I got some dry ice from one of the stores and I put it under the volcano and, it just made something so grand. And I saw the reaction on the kids and other moms. And I knew that there was something I could use my creativity for, because I could make something which could bring the wow factor and kind of, but this was all like just for fun and as a hobby. I know it was never a way to earn some money then. So it started like that. And then, as you said, I was moving from one place to another. When I was in UK, that time also I had a friend who used to bake and she used to sell her cakes, and I learned a bit from her too. And there was a fun fair and we put up a stall of cupcakes. That's the first time I sold something that I had made. And we got a neat little income from that stall of ours. And that was the first time when I thought, why not? I mean, I'm moving around so much and this is something that I enjoy doing, and I made good money. I mean, in one day I got a nice amount of money by selling cupcakes. And while I was piping my cupcakes over there, I saw the kids just standing there and looking at me doing it in such awe, and that expression on their face, the happiness, it just made me feel happy. It was something I was doing which was bringing happiness, and people were looking forward to eating what I was creating. So that was kind of intoxicating, that feeling that I got. And I started baking and decorating more and more. And with practice, I started improving. I mean, I still see my cakes that I baked then and what I'm doing now. There's a big difference. I mean, so yeah. And then again, when I moved to US, all this time I was still, it was more of a hobby. I mean, I did make for once or twice. I mean, when somebody would ask and would, pay me a nominal amount for it. It was never a profession or, something like that. And I was doing a lot of volunteering work and I was teaching in between a lot of, and because I was moving from one country to another and I didn't have a family support system with me, that is when I had decided that I wanted to be a full-time mom for my kids. I did not want to leave them, in childcare or, something like that to pursue a career. So that was my own decision, that I wanted to spend more time with my kids because I was constantly moving and they were having problems in adjusting while we were moving.
Yeah.
So that phase passed, and then now I do have a 2-year-old with me, and the same thing comes back, that now why am I deciding to work now? I mean, because I do have a small child, but I have 2 teenagers now and I have a support system at home, and my 2-year-old has kind of 4 adults in the house looking after him. So I think this was the right time for me to kind of start. And if you think there's never right time for a business to start as such until you yourself know that it is the right time to start. So this is what happened with me. I felt I needed to take it to the next level now, and that's how I started with this.
Wonderful. How old were you, if you don't mind me asking, when you launched Farida's bakery?
Cake boutique?
Yeah.
Like I registered my business last year. I mean, before this, I was just doing it. I was baking, and I started seriously doing it. I was taking orders. I was baking, but it was more for friends, and stuff like that. But ever since last year, when I registered my business and started full-fledgedly, now that I'm on social media, people have been contacting me, and I'm seeing the change. So I'm very excited.
It's great. Once you formalize it, you also become more, I'm sure you were always serious about it, but formalization of a business when we launch it gives it that seriousness of that business, because now you know that you can't just say, oh, I won't do it today because it's a weekend. We've got an order. And I think the family support really comes together there.
It does come together.
They know this is no more a hobby. This is, mom's doing this as a profession.
Yeah. And a very important thing here is what I feel is it's never too late to do something that you love.
Yeah.
It's never too late to pursue something that you want to do and what you enjoy. So that is what I have adopted in my life.
And that's the beauty of it, that at any time of entrepreneurship, that we can start at any age. There's no starting age, there is no limiting age, there is no, oh, you're at 60, so now you're retired, you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just that any time, anyhow, and you can switch things. You can, like you said, moving countries. When you're doing something like this today, if you move to London, you have the skill set. You already have a name, credibility that is coming on your Google business reviews or through your social media page in the US, and it will be a lot easier to re-establish it in a different country, right? And start off again.
It should be, but I'm hoping that we stay put over here now. I don't. I'm done with all the moving.
Absolutely. So my next question to you is, through all your moves and through, or maybe the work that you've done, or the career breaks that you took, what did you find the most challenging part? Was it starting a business? Was it understanding the registration process of business? Was it finding a job in Japan? Or was it just being at home sometimes when you were doing nothing? What was the biggest challenge for you?
I think when you want to take the final plunge to start your business, you are so unsure of yourself. You keep self-doubting. I think that was the most difficult part for me, because I had people who kept telling me, why don't you do it like professionally? Why don't you go for it? And I had a lot of self-doubt, to be honest. I didn't know I could, go all out and sell myself as just put myself out there that I'm here to do it. So, yeah. And then again, the legal part of it. So when I did a lot of research, and I did a certification of safe food handlers course, so that, I learn about, I don't want to start something not being, sure, or not being very thorough with how I'm supposed to be doing things, because here people are trusting me and buying something from me and consuming themselves and feeding their kids. So I want to be very, very sure that whatever I'm giving them is something that I would give my own kids.
Yeah.
Which is why over the years, my cakes are kind of different from the cakes that you get here. It is because many recipes that I've come up with are something that I made some changes to my cakes, because I was doing it as a hobby for myself, my family. So they're not very sweet, and they're kind of soft and moist and stuff like that. So those things I got because of trial and error, and because I was practicing and trying to improve all the time. Even now I try and ask people for a feedback every time they buy from me, so that I still think there's a lot to learn and improve upon.
Absolutely. No, but I think what you shared about the challenge is a lot of, because I do a lot of these entrepreneurship boot camps for women to help them launch their businesses. And I see that one very strong trait that is common between all is self-doubt. Are you sure, Nidhi, I can do it? I don't want to put it on social media right now. People think, she launched and she wasn't able to do it. That people will make fun, or I wasn't good enough to take it through. So even before starting, they're already thinking that I won't be able to make it. So people are going to talk. And I have to literally take 3 hours, 4 hours of, constant counseling with them to take care of that emotional self-doubt, moving it to self-confidence, belief, and saying that, look, if I believe in you, you got to believe in yourself. The outsiders who are willing to say that, who say that you have the skill set to make it happen, don't have super crazy goals that you feel that, oh, I didn't make it there. Make baby step goals, right? And when you achieve them, it gives you more confidence to make bigger goals. And then, it's infinite possibilities with whatever we do, as much as time as we want to spend. So coming to my next question, I'm very curious. So were you working when you were in India before you moved to Japan?
Yes.
And what were you?
When I got married, just before we moved to Japan, I wasn't working. But before I got married, yes, I was working.
You were working in what
I was teaching, and at the same time, my father had a business. I used to help him a bit with accounting and stuff like that.
So when you moved to Japan, how long did it take you to find something to do? So of course it was a career break, right? You were home. And how long did it take you to find work find work? And what kind of work did you take up?
So when I went to Japan, my son was 2 years old. So I was still spending all my time with him. And it was a new country. For the first time, we had moved out of India as such. So it was very different. There were lots of challenges. At the same time, it was a completely different lifestyle. And it was a little struggle in the beginning, but slowly it kind of grew upon me. I just enjoyed and I loved it over there. And then this opportunity for teaching came around. Now, what happened was my son started going to preschool, and he went to an American preschool there. And I made some friends with the American teachers there. And I had this thing that if they needed, I was open to working there. But while I was thinking if I should, take up a job and start working at the school where my son was going or something like that, this opportunity came around, and this perfectly fitted like my entire routine and everything. I could drop my son, go to school myself, and then it would be over just in time when my son would come home. So I was like, it just worked perfectly, and I was still able to give time to my son. At the same time, I was able to work, and it wasn't a full-time job, but at the same time, it was very fulfilling. I was able to meet a lot of people, learn so many new things, and make friends. And yeah, I mean, like I said, that experience in Japan lives up to till this day. And my son is learning Japanese. He's majoring in Japanese in college.
Wow.
Because he has all his childhood memories of Japan. And when he was very small and we were in UK, somebody had asked him, "Where are you from?" And he said, "I look like an Indian, but I'm Japanese and I'm living in UK." He was so confused.
Oh,
and then because my son and I always talk in Japanese, my daughter would feel left out. So she has taken up Japanese too in high school. I mean, in her middle school. So I think in the end, we'll all start talking Japanese.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So you started teaching in high school in Japan, right? And you were teaching English.
Yes.
Or you were the English teacher or the overall teacher who spoke English?
It was, they have English language as a subject in high school there, which is, I think, mandatory. All students have to have English as their second language, I believe. So how it worked was I used to work alongside a native Japanese teacher. And because the English is not very high level in high school in Japan. So, but then because without any Japanese knowledge myself, I wouldn't be able to teach at all. So this was the time when I was myself learning Japanese. And it so happened that they required a teacher who could work alongside a Japanese teacher and teach. So
it worked perfectly. Got you to even practice your Japanese, which brings
yes, because otherwise I did not have opportunity to talk in Japanese much. But being in a school, I was able to talk to other teachers, not just the Japanese English teachers, but other teachers teaching other subjects in Japanese who did not know English at all. So that was a very good opportunity for me to brush up on my Japanese skills.
And I want to ask you, Japanese is a very tough language, right? It's one of the toughest languages to learn.
No, it is definitely.
How difficult was it for you to clear all three levels that you've done? Like, did you really find it very challenging, or is it that we just have a myth and once we learn, it just comes along?
I think it kind of came naturally to me. I don't know. I mean, the first test that I took, I scored very high. In fact, some of my friends said that they had never heard of anyone scoring that high. And I was like, I don't know if it is fluke or what, but I somehow knew everything. But then slowly, as the level increased, I did not, of course, the kind of scores do go down a bit. And now it's been so many years that I've forgotten quite a bit also because I've lost practice. And, I just I still can converse in basic Japanese, but I learned like so many kanjis and stuff. I've forgotten those things. I cannot read fluently now. So those things I have forgotten because it's been so long ago. But it was difficult, but then it made things so much easier because I learned that language. I was able to communicate. We were able to travel so much. I knew exactly what to ask because I had a lot of dietary restrictions. I did not, there's, the kind of food they eat over there and the kind of diets we Indians have is very different. So it was much easier for me to communicate and to find out what I could eat, what I couldn't. And at the same time, everything became so much easier just by knowing the language. I was able to make friends. I was able to invite them over to my house, and we had some very good time.
And I want to ask you a simple question that you've adapted, right? So like I said, that there were times when you took a break from your career, it was a conscious choice to be there for the kids. You didn't want to put them in childcare, all of that. And then you adapted yourself to taking up work that was available. It wasn't something being very strict about, no, I've educated in this and I'm only going to do this. But I see your career graph. You've just like a river flowing and finding its way, right? And you found your path somewhere and you just spread your wings and adapted. And in that, you have done so many different things, right? Along with keeping the balance of providing that emotional support and the presence of a parent in the home. Because of course, like you said, living in the West, one of the challenges and something that we do miss is not having the family support. The parents are in India, because in India, it's a lot easier. Plus, we have a lot of house help, which almost becomes like family over time.
Yes.
If they've been with us. So there's a trust factor that comes in. And I find this really, really beautiful when women are able to create an ecosystem where they are fulfilling their personal, I would say their choice of wanting to spend time with family, to cook for the family, because I think that's as important. Giving them fresh meals, taking care of the children, being home when they come home so you can have conversations. And that brings up very healthy, emotionally healthy children because they have somebody to speak to. It's their needs that time. And it makes them feel whole. But at the same time, there's a very strong sense in women that we want to continue to pursue our professional aspirations because we know we are just more than just being a nurturer, a mother, and we know we can do all of that together. Maybe we are flexible enough to do less of this and more of that at a certain time, and then as kids grow, the professional aspect becomes stronger, and because they require less time. And I think you have blended it beautifully with that. So I want to ask you, what has been the biggest, I would say, sense of satisfaction that you felt in being able to create your life, which has had a very good mix of being the nurturer, being there for the family, and continuing to do professionally whatever made you feel happy, that I have a purpose for myself also. It's just not being a mother, a wife, a daughter, but it's also me, Farida, my identity with what I stand for, what I do. How did you bring in that? And also, now when you look back, how satisfied do you feel?
Well, even when I was not doing any job per se, like, when I was spending most of my time with kids, there were so many things I was involved in. Like at this school, I was a part of the school board for 3 years. Then I was helping organize events and parties. And so I did keep myself busy. It wasn't that something where I would just sit and think that I'm not doing anything, or, because I think being there for your kids and being at home is equally important, if not the most important thing. But I think it is important, and my kids, maybe they don't realize it now. When they grow older, they will know. So it does make a difference. And I've seen the difference it makes when you are there for your kids, so that, constantly they do need help. And like I said, it is fulfilling if you're able to balance. I mean, yes, for a few years I was not doing a job in the sense, but I think I was equally busy because I was doing a lot of things involved with the school and with the community as such. So I don't feel that I would change that. But now that I have a 2-year-old, and I might get too busy for him, but I'm sure I'll be able to manage that. And I feel I'm more experienced now, and I have more helping hands at home.
Yeah. Also, I think entrepreneurship gives you the flexibility. If you have to bake a cake and your child needs you till 8 o'clock, you can also bake the cake at like 9.
Yes,
it's not like that.
I do that all the time. This night time is my time, and most of the time I end up doing late nights. And in fact, COVID has been kind of helpful because my husband could work from home. So even now he's working from home. So it has worked to my benefit in that sense. And because my boutique, I've started from home. So I do have help at home when I'm working also. It's not that I have to leave everything and go somewhere else. I'm able to manage both the way I want.
So people come and pick up the cakes, you go and deliver. How does it work for you?
They come and pick up, unless it is like I have done a few bigger cake deliveries, but then that's because it's a wedding cake, or like, if it's a 5-tier cake, I don't trust them to take it and, all my hard work.
And how long does it take you to make a 5-tier cake?
It took a day. I mean, of course, I have to make preparations from beforehand, but I made one 5-tier cake, and the topmost tier was a rotating tier. So there was a lot of planning I did, and it came out beautifully, and people loved it, and it made me very happy.
I'm just amazed at somebody who didn't go to a culinary school and has learned so much through either books or YouTube or whatever your source of learning has been, and being able to come to this level where you can take that opportunity to make a 5-tier cake. And that's when I said that when I think you're like a master chef material, people take years to get here.
But there are lots of people, Nidhi. I mean, I'm sure there are many women out there who are even better than me. And
I'm sure. See, again, this is where it's coming. You are great. And that's it. Let's put a full stop to that. I'm sure there are a lot of better bakers, different bakers. But like you said, you bring a uniqueness of the world because of your travel. And that reflects in the work that you do. Maybe they're less sweetened, more moist, they're a little bit more spongy, because you have experimented and taken the best from what you thought that you learned from different places. And I think that's what probably makes your cakes very unique. And I'm really, So now I want to ask you this. Now you are earning good amount of money. And how do you invest that money into certain financial instruments to grow that money? Do you manage your finances yourself from the cake business? Or is it something that just comes and it stays like, it's lying in the bank, I don't care. So do you grow? Do you work on the financial side of it?
Because I have recently in the sense last year. So what I want to do is, because I don't want to stay at the level I am at right now. I definitely want to grow. So my plan is to kind of have a good amount of savings, so that when I take the next step, I don't have to go out and look for, help for investment. So I'm trying to kind of work on that at the moment.
Wonderful. Wow, you're creating your own capital. That is so amazing. Do you read books?
Of course, but these days I don't get much time.
So share with us the title of a book, one of your favorites, that, if you ever had to like reread a book again, you would just pick that one up and that you would recommend to everyone who's watching today to put it in their reading list.
I don't know. You should have asked me this earlier. I would have thought.
Any book, even it could be something that you read to your kids and,
You put me in a spot. I'm thinking.
Any quotation that you remember or you tend to find yourself using a lot with your kids or with friends, Sometimes we use a particular quotation that expresses something that we want to say.
Well, in my head, everything is coming about cakes.
Oh, okay. So a lot of times, like I'm always telling my kids, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you, especially to my son and daughter when they're having an argument or somebody is, taking away somebody else's share of chips or, conflict. And I'm like, would you want her to do the same to you? No. So then just put it back, right?
Oh yeah, I use that a lot too.
And I think like they'll probably go to college and this like particular quotation is going to like harm them, that if they are doing something, they're like, okay, I don't want the other person to ever do this to me and take my chips back. So let me put it back.
Okay, let me tell you this. I had this talk with my son today and he comes up with these things where he reads about something or he knows his friends are doing something. And I am always I feel so strongly about doing everything in the natural way. I mean, not to go for anything which are, something. I mean, nowadays people are so much into, be it like taking protein shakes or taking, there's so much of artificial thing that I feel that
everywhere.
Even you won't believe, sometimes these kids, they want, even for their sleep patterns, they have things that like, we should do this for calories count this. I'm like, just live a normal, natural life and just forget about these things, because no matter what you read, no matter what they say, ultimately what comes naturally will is the right thing to do. And so I don't know, I mean, it's not a quotation, but that's something I feel very strongly about.
I think with the advent of people trying to sell their products so much, right? If they make it, they have to sell it, and it's in the face, and they make you feel the desire and need for it, right? That if you don't take it, you won't get muscles. And I'm totally with you. I'm such a big advocate of home cooked food. You won't believe, Farida, in my house, takeaway is literally zero for months. My kids have grown up eating. I will cook every cuisine. So I've gone to different places and learned how to make Mexican food, Lebanese food, Thai food. I cook all of that at home. It's a bit of an effort, but it's worth it. Because I just feel here, I know the ingredients I'm putting. Everything is fresh.
That is so true.
I make the paste. Fortunately, I live in a home where I have an organic garden. So a lot of things I can just pluck from my backyard and use. So because there are so many diseases that have come up right now because of the kind of food we eat.
You won't believe when you go and buy something from the grocery store and you want to see the ingredients on the packaging. It's like a paragraph. I'm like, just for a even for a pack of potato chips, there'll be like 100 things in it. So I'm like, how can this be natural?
Absolutely. And I feel the children today are, they get such good education. They go into such good career paths. They're earning really well. But I always say this, even my nephew lives in the US, and I say, what is the point of earning this kind of money if end of the day you're just eating frozen food? I said, we earn money. The most important thing in life is your health. So either if you don't have the time or the skill set to cook fresh food for yourself, even if it's spaghetti, don't open that jar of pre-made sauce and do it. Just make it fresh.
I do the same.
Right.
My son tells me, Mom, you can't cook everything. Sometimes we can eat out and stuff like. I'm like, okay, once in a while. But then if you
But
like
it's the
something, it can be
patience.
made at home.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel it's healthy. You know the butter you put. You know you're going to do it in olive oil versus a palm oil reused 10 times, because it's a restaurant. They have to look at the profitability. They're not going to throw it
Yeah,
away.
that's so true.
Food that is left
I
behind.
know when I do my cakes, I know that because for ingredients, I know I'm very particular that I do not use anything with alcohol or gelatin in my cakes. And I know that when we go and buy from outside, when you're buying a cake, you don't know what goes in
No,
it.
absolutely. They'll do it. What is the fastest way to make it look
I find
beautiful?
it so difficult to get some of my ingredients. A few things I get it from India because I know I cannot get it over here
Yeah.
because I'm so particular. I want to avoid using these in my cakes. So again, I
Yeah.
mean the fondant that I use vegan because I know that that's something I'm very particular about.
And that's
And
what you will give to your children. So, that's what you're making. But I think that's brilliant. And, that's what will create your niche in the market, where people know that if I want something healthy, which I would have made at home, but I don't have the time, then this is the person to take from because it would be what I would have made for my children. And
you always get what you pay for. I mean,
exactly.
there are cakes that are sold for $15 also in a grocery store, but then you don't know what's going in it and what you're eating.
Yeah.
So it's all about that.
Well, thank you so much, Farida. That brings us to the end of this podcast. I want to really, really wish you tons of great success in your venture. I hope someday when we visit, we will see a beautiful standalone cake boutique with gorgeous cakes out there, which inspires us and delights us.
With a tiny cake for you, welcoming you to my boutique.
Absolutely. I want the cupcake that you made. I think it's just so fascinating. And I hope hearing your journey will inspire many women and many people out there who are right now sitting in self-doubt and wondering whether they should take that leap into starting their own venture or not. And I hope it will help them to get over the fence and just get started and to do it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nidhi. It was lovely talking to you.
Same here. Thank you.